So, introducing this week's episode of Dragonball Super, I decided to get the fellows together and record a little video on SethTheProgrammer's channel. To start off with this video, we're going to be going over the things like Toppo's God of Destruction form, Frieza being bodied, and the fact that for the first time in my life, I'm going to be making a video that's longer than 4 minutes.
So to start off this video, I just want to make it clear this isn't really like an episode review. Obviously, I don't need to rely on that kind of thing. That's kind of below my channel for what it's worth. I like to create discussions within the community and answer things that a lot of my Discord members or people on Twitter like bring up to me that can spark controversy for debate. Obviously, there's a lot of things in this episode, such as, how strong is Toppo? Is Frieza, his planet buster fucking statement? Obviously, we have to touch up on that. There's just a lot of things to go over. And I did just want to clarify that before starting the video. So, with me today, I got Chuck the Cyber Cuck and the good old lad, Clyde the Weeaboo. How's it going, fellows?
Hey, what's up, fella?
Pretty legitimate, my hermano.
My hermano. So the first thing I kind of want to touch up on is that Goku and Vegeta both fight alongside each other versus Jiren, right? A lot of people were wondering, how powerful is Vegeta's new form? And this episode actually kind of extrapolates and, emphasis on like the new form itself, because Goku and Vegeta are doing roughly equal versus Jiren, and by the end of the fight, Goku takes on Jiren by himself for a tad bit while Vegeta charges energy. He fires a final flash. Jiren bodies both of them, and then both of them are completely fatigued. So by the looks of it, Goku may have very well gotten stronger over this tournament, and then Vegeta's new form is equal now to Goku's current Kaioken times 20, which may be disappointing for some people, but this does go into my whole narrative argument that I had in one of my previous videos, that in the manga or in the original notes, Goku and Vegeta are just supposed to have like a strong Super Saiyan Blue or like an equivalent full power to each other, and obviously in the anime, which is usually Kaioken, Vegeta will need his own, amped Super Saiyan form to be equal or near Goku's full power, whereas the manga will probably just be like, oh, they're both using their full power Super Saiyan Blue forms that is capable of fighting Merge Zamasu, right? So it does make sense that Vegeta's new form would be on par with Kaioken times 20, and by the looks of it, it looks like Ultra Instinct is in fact stronger than Vegeta's new form, so I thought that was actually a pretty big deal. So
Yeah, I was actually going to say that it is very interesting that 17 is actually holding his own against Toppo very well so far. And I would say if you compare it to how Toppo fought against Goku, it seemed that he might have actually tried more against 17, but either way, 17 has just been able to actually counter many of his attacks and is able to keep him in combat with him. So I think it's pretty interesting that he's actually able to give even Toppo a run for his money.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see that even though he's not as strong as Toppo at all, he can just really fight against him using the infinite energy. It's kind of more of a tactical aspect of the fight, because that's what he was doing the whole time, keeping Toppo in place, and then he ends up having to transform. I thought that was a pretty cool part of the fight while watching it.
yeah, I mean, one of the things that Chuck brought up as well is Android 17 kind of feels like a Naruto character, fighting in Dragon Ball, just because he's the only one who's super calm and collected, and he comes up with strategies to come up fight stronger opponents. He kind of gives a Kakashi or just an elite shinobi vibe.
Yeah, he did. He's so chill throughout the fight, because even when after Toppo transforms, he's zipping around throwing stuff at him and trying to create diversions. It's it was kind of similar to what Goku did against Jiren, which made me like his character a lot more.
Yeah, he's just trying to hold off time until the 6 minutes is up, which makes complete sense since he has infinite energy. And then of course, they get into this beam struggle or whatever, and 17 is actually able to hold his own against Toppo's full power, essentially, which is insane. So as we know, Toppo was able to push Goku to kind of use, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, when even if it wasn't really necessary, he did push him to that state while not even using his full power himself. And the manga does seem to imply that they are, kind of roughly around the same strength. It seems to me that Toppo is slightly weaker than Goku in that case, but it still is important for 17 because it does prove 17 is just godly, and it's just absolute confirmation of this fact. We're just getting more and more evidence for it. And of course, they get into this beam struggle, and then Frieza starts blasting him in the back. And then right after 17 kind of wins this beam struggle, there's kind of a don't drop the soap moment with Toppo lurking over Frieza.
Thick, he's looking straight. He just straight out the gym. He's pumped. He's looking.
It looked like a prison scene, man.
Frieza underestimating him so much.
He's just looking down on the little femboy. Yeah.
When I first seen that scene, I'm like, oh no, Frieza's about to get cream pie. He ain't never had nothing like this happen.
Yeah, and then his design, like he goes into like this God of Destruction mode or whatever, which is a little weird. I mean, I guess it's a cool concept, but it's like his entire design looks like fucking fan art. And one of you guys was pointing this out.
Yeah,
like,
I was before. It looks like the fan art that we seen when Battle of Gods came out, and it had Goku with like tattoo marks all over his body. Like, I think it's a pretty cool looking design, but it looks like the fan art that we seen a long time ago with Dragon Ball.
well, I mean, to be fair, I believe Dragon Ball Super actually does take a lot of fan art. You remember, like, back when Super Saiyan God first came out, there was actually Super Saiyan God Goku with red hair, and they're like, oh, Vegeta's Super Saiyan God form is gonna have blue hair. Remember, that was the fan art.
Yeah,
that was like,
that was
actually a thing.
Yeah, just quickly, we won't go into this a lot, but I remember seeing a lot of fan art with blue hair and stuff, especially with Goku back in like 2012, and then it ended up happening in the fucking revival of F, which was crazy. But
yeah, it actually does seem like they are taking fan art into account, so I wouldn't even be surprised. It's completely irrelevant, but it's just
and actually brought up that he actually kind of looks like Shinakuma from Street Fighter, like
Yeah.
you know, the white hair and the aura. He looks really similar to that.
Also, this is kind of important too, but Frieza kind of underestimates Toppo. Not really, kinda. He absolutely underestimates him because he kind of gets one-shotted. But like, Chuck brought this up to me, but it's very possible that Frieza and 17 just blatantly cannot sense Toppo's energy to begin with. There is the argument that Frieza can sense like the pressure of God Ki, and I kind of wanted to hear more of like more details on that theory.
yeah, so that's what I thought about straight away when I was watching the actual episode. So Frieza and 17, they've done no training to achieve God Ki. It's not something you just attain when you get strong. We know that mortals can become strong and very close to the strength of, God of Destructions, but it doesn't mean they have the God Ki itself. It's a completely separate thing that you learn how to achieve. And it doesn't seem like Frieza and 17 have it, because when they were facing off against Toppo, they were acting like, oh yeah, he probably got like a ×2 power up at most or something like that.
1.2 times.
They weren't really impressed, and then because Frieza deadass was like, yeah, look, I've taken one of those attacks before, that's nothing, and then he gets fucking one shot, like you said.
Yeah, and here's another thing I wanted to bring up. Toppo versus Sidra. What do you guys think about that? Like, in my opinion, I don't think Sidra giving, like, one of his minions just, like, a little ball of energy to, like, sneak attack Goku with is really enough. I mean, to be granted, Sidra's Kaioshin did state, wow, I don't know if we could even take Frieza out. And Frieza and 17 are competing with Toppo. So it might just be possible that Toppo might absolutely just shit on Sidra, and I kind of wanted to hear your guys' opinion on that.
I actually mentioned this in the video we did with MJ, the one we're talking about, like if Goku and Vegeta surpassed Beerus. Ro was like, okay, are you sure you can take him out? So even Super Saiyan Blue tier characters are like on that level where Sidra is like actually concerned, right? And we have Beerus that just casually like blows away his like high energy, and like even Vegito is, barely around that level. You're gonna go by the manga, but way stronger than that, So that just proves even more that Gods of Destruction have different levels of power, and Toppo might very well be above most of the Gods of Destruction going by that. And Beerus was actually really concerned about that too.
Yeah, Beerus also said to Vegeta, he kind of implied that the bar is set quite low to be a God of Destruction in the other universes. He was really implying that he's a lot stronger than the other ones in the not that it's necessarily that relevant to the anime, but you can take it into consideration because it's pretty clear that Sidra is not. No, I don't think he would be as strong as Toppo, just from what is displayed by the fact that his attack, like, it destroyed Frieza. He had no idea that it was going to be that powerful.
Yeah, I was like numerous times bigger. My only counter argument to that is that it's possible Sidra was just like making a little ball that could be concealable, which might have been weaker, but
well, I don't know, because he seemed like really shocked by it, like really shocked when he seen that Frieza was able to take it, or like he just really he understood what was going on.
It did expand as well. It might have just been like condensed.
Yeah, that would make sense, because obviously he needed it to be transported by that fodder dude. So he's like, all right, have this. It's condensed and small. That makes sense.
So then Toppo Hakkai's Frieza so hard, and this is probably one of the best feats in the series. He Hakkai's Frieza so hard that the entire world of Void is distorted, shakes violently, and then changes utterly. It kind of changes how like the Grand Priest just waved his hand and turned it green. Except it's a little bit different this time, because when Toppo destroys, the Hakkai energy goes off. The background, the world of Void changes to a point where it looks like there's like stars and like cosmoses in the background. Now, I don't know if this should be taken literally, or just kind of metaphorically, but this is kind of similar to how when Zeno destroyed a universe, there was like random particles of energy flying around. So my theory was that the stars might not actually be stars. It might actually just be like little pockets of energy, but he did still distort the entire world of Void, and he did shake it completely violently. He shook it way harder. Well, he exerted way more force than, say, the Spirit Bomb or, you know, Goku Ultra Instinct or Jiren's energies ever did. So it is very impressive in that regard, but I wanted to hear you guys' opinion on destroying the world of Void.
Well, we've seen stuff like this since the fucking Buu Saga, for example, where they were like bending the you know, like the dimension around the planet and stuff. Like, we've seen feats like this before plenty of times in the series, but what makes this one so important is because we've seen Jiren and some other people shake the world of Void. I think it might have only just been Jiren and Goku too, I believe, but this is more important than that feat because it's not from powering up, like, hey, you know, powering up affects things around you and stuff. Like, it's pretty here and there whether or not how powerful it is, but this was an actual effect from an attack that he used, so it displays what sort of level he's on, and the fact that it was warping everything like what the Grand Priest was and stuff, it can be taken into consideration that, I don't know, it's a pretty powerful looking fucking attack, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think if it was destroyed, then I think it would be very possible because, I mean, we have Goku, like, after the Goku Black Arc, that he actually destroyed, like, its times, he actually destroyed hits, you know, time dimensions just by powering up, right? We have Vegeta just, you know, busting the hyperbolic time chamber like twice in a row, and obviously the Buu Saga thing. We have Buhan that was, you know, with his Vice Shout was going to destroy the universe with the chain reaction, stuff like that. So, I mean, like, even in the Buu Saga, we already have feats where dimensions are just casually being torn apart, you know, and Goku and Vegeta are also able to do that just by powering up. So if Toppo did do that, it is very possible.
Yeah, and I mean, Jiren and Goku already shook the whole thing, so it's already possible that they have like this level of power that can encompass the entire range of the world of Void anyway. So it's not like, even if it did happen, it wouldn't even be like an outlier per se. It would actually just be like more like a supporting feat in it.
Yeah, doesn't that also reinforce the point you made in a previous video? Was it third or fourth dimensional you were saying they could potentially be because of this? Because technically it's an infinite space, and not only have they shaken said infinite space, but they've actually shown that they can affect it with an attack itself.
Yeah, it is like that's a different argument because obviously like versus algorithms work in a slightly weird way to kind of compensate, because certain verses will say that like, oh, a being is fourth dimensional, they are infinitely above three-dimensional, therefore they can solo every fictional character that isn't fourth dimensional. So it's like versus, you know, debates need to create an algorithm where they can establish, yes, if you can do so and so feats, you are capable of competing with said dimensional tiering of a character. So that's why I said that they were fourth dimensional. Obviously, some people argue, you know, they still have like a three-dimensional existence with fourth dimensional powers, but that's probably something for a different video. Otherwise, yes, the feat is incredibly impressive. The world of Void is infinite in size. There is no disregarding that whatsoever.
Yeah, it's definitely worth highlighting. I mean, it's an interesting thing that was shown, and it's been shown more than once because, you know, just once again, it was done by powering up and done by a physical attack. So I just thought that would be worth mentioning for the video. But what else did we see happen? We also seen that
Toppo was casually able to break through 17's barrier, which nobody else in the series has actually done. His barrier didn't break versus Piccolo versus the Hellzone Grenade. It didn't break versus Andy Raza, who's capable of basically taking on all 5 Super Saiyan Blue level fighters. So Toppo at this point is an exceptionally strong fighter, definitely god tier. And we do see that as he does fight Vegeta in the next episode preview, which we'll get into more detail about. And even after like all of 17's plans like fail and he's just getting shit on, he's just so calm about it. Like we brought this up earlier, like, but this like all his plans get shit on and he gets thrown into like a corner. And he's just laying on his back, and he's like, damn, this guy's pretty tough. Like, how I still have to beat him, though. Like, what am I going to do, right? And he's just completely calm and collected, not a sweat on his face. And it's just like, it honestly makes me like his character a whole lot more. I mean, completely irrelevant, but it's still just something I wanted to talk about.
I actually wanted to discuss, you know, like about Frieza actually being able to resist the Hakai. So obviously, we actually saw this before when they went up against Sidra, and you guys might think it's not a big deal, but this Hakai energy is supposed to not only kill their physical body, but also their soul, or, you know, their astral body. So if Frieza was able to counter this, you know, in his golden form with just a couple injuries in his normal form, and that means that he just countered an even higher level of like astral, like, you know, wiping, right? Or he has astral defenses on a high level. And I think that's very interesting because then possibly 17 and Goku and Vegeta obviously would also be able to scale from that.
Beerus then confirms after all of this as well, concerning the Hakai, that Toppo still has to like charge up before he can use Hakai energy. I'm assuming that like a God of Destruction like that has mastery, kind of like Beerus, doesn't necessarily need to charge up to use destruction energy, which may actually turn out to be a weakness for Toppo. I wouldn't be surprised if something that kind of like Pain happens here. So in the battle with Pain in Naruto had to attack Pain after his 5-second interval. So Pain would attack, and then he has 5 seconds to recharge before he can do that same attack again. And that's when Naruto has to take him out. I wouldn't be surprised if Toppo kind of has like that same mechanic where he has to like charge up his destruction energy before he can use it again. And that's where like maybe like Vegeta could take advantage of it. I'm assuming that's where it's going. If I'm wrong, please don't debunk me, okay? It's just a theory, all right? I'm not even claiming anything.
But stop claiming that Vegeta's stronger than Goku. Damn, dude.
I'm sorry. Although this is important because it does prove that Toppo is a God of Destruction, but he's not like a perfect one. Like he's not like top tier God of Destruction or something. It does also prove that Sidra is pretty damn shit. And then Toppo also states after Frieza comes back and survives the Hakai energy, as Chuck just said, that he's kind of wounded and he doesn't really belong there anymore. Like he's just kind of like throwing him off, like, yeah, you should just go away. I kind of wanted to bring this up because it's kind of important because after the Spirit Bomb on Namek, a similar thing happened with Frieza. Like he had one eye closed, his tail was bleeding, he was completely wounded. He is obviously damaged, and it does back up the fact that Frieza was fatigued and heavily damaged versus Super Saiyan Goku on Namek even before like the form itself started draining of energy. So I thought that was actually pretty important. Frieza then says he could destroy a planet with his energy, which is kind of a meme at this point. I mean, they literally had Kefla just say that she could destroy the universe, and now Frieza's like, yeah, I can destroy a planet though. And Toppo's reaction. Yeah.
I gotta cut in. That scene was so cancer. It's like Toei's consistency with writing in this series is so bad. So you can compare it to what happened in the Buu Saga, where Goku's like, "Whoa, that attack's got enough energy to destroy the planet. Whoa!"
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same thing with like Monica. Beerus was trying to flex on Goku to be scared of Monica, and he's like, Monica could destroy this entire planet if he wanted to. Like, just to flex Monica's power, and it's like, okay, like planet level.
On Monica.
Like, I'm not trying to be like a spastic and pay attention to every like little statement a character makes. Like, obviously people kind of view that like negatively, like, oh, Seth's just being a spastic, oh, you know, who cares if the writer says that, right? But people do take this shit like hyper literal. Like, there are a lot of like sub like, how do you put this, like pseudo intellectual debating communities. Yeah, I wanted to say subhumans, but that'd be a little.
They did it with this screenshot. Like, I can't believe how viral that went, especially among people who don't watch Dragon Ball. It's a good example because they took that statement as fact. It's embarrassing. It needs to be cleared up.
Yeah, so stuff like this does kind of have to be cleared up. I'm not trying to be like a spastic or fucking Dragon Ball tard or anything, but it does need to be cleared up because there's those people, you know, that breed of people that will, you know, take it literally. And then Toppo's reaction kind of suits how we all thought. He just says, "What rubbish?" And then he kind of just like flicks the attack away, like no difficulty. So I guess it didn't really amount to anything. It's not like Frieza said, "I'll destroy the planet," and then Toppo like struggles with the fucking attack or something. But it's still a statement that is completely irrelevant.
And it's actually pretty funny because the people that will take that statement literally, they'll just like disregard the one about like the world of voice shaking, or they'll disregard the K-Flow one. It's like, it's not 100% literal, but then they'll like nitpick, you know, which one they actually do want to take hyper literal.
Yeah. And then we also had another theory. I mean, after Frieza got completely fucking manhandled, this was brutal. Like, Toppo was literally had the power at this point to crush Frieza's head with his bare hand. Like, he was actually going to squish his head and kill him. Like, it was actually insane. And then he kind of throws him off and 17 saves him. Clyde actually had a theory that this might actually be something for the plot in the future. Why don't you say something?
Alright, so when I was watching the episode, I was like, wait, what was that just hit him? And then I, you know, paid a little bit more attention, went back and rewatched it, and 17 threw a rock at him so that he bounced off. And we seen this happen kind of in the Cell Saga with the whole Vegeta stuff. Like, I think that what will happen is Frieza will come back for a sneak attack like what Vegeta did against Frieza. There's no way that they purposely left him there on without any meaning. It's done for a reason. Like, that. Not only is Frieza very popular in Japan, but it makes sense because Frieza's going to be lying there. There's going to be a scene where he will wake up. I guarantee this. He'll wake up and he'll see that they're either fighting Jiren or Toppo, whoever they're all fighting at once. He'll join in and
here's something I think too. So there's also the theory that Frieza might actually win or be like one of the candidates to win the tournament, because Vegeta versus Toppo and then Ultra Instinct Goku versus Jiren is going to happen, and then Frieza will be on the sideline while these guys like duke it out to the end, right? So it wouldn't make sense that there would be kind of an edgy subplot of Frieza kind of surviving the tournament or getting his wish or doing a sneak attack as well.
There also might be a I can see this happening, and this makes a bit of sense. So there might be a scene where Frieza decides to help Vegeta fight Toppo, and then within the fight, I don't know if it's going to go this far, it depends on what Toei has planned with Dragon Ball Super in the future, but there might be a bit where he briefly mentions to Vegeta that he's helping him out because Beerus is the one that told him to blow up the planet.
Ooh. Imagine that though, like yeah, if Frieza turns it around on Beerus, that might be something completely different, but that's a different video. And then obviously after that, there's the episode preview of Vegeta versus Toppo. I kind of brought this up before. Vegeta looks like he's doing pretty good, but it looks like Toppo has enough power to basically worry Goku. Like Goku in the preview sounds like a worried mother, as Clyde put it when we watched it.
Vegeta! He was screaming so much too. Like here's another thing to add. Even Jiren realized how strong he looked. He was like, oh wow, he's actually going all out. So that's
actually
the thing
doing
you
it.
should pay attention to.
Yeah, and the title of the video, well, title of the next episode as well is Surpass Even a God. Vegeta's, final attack or resolve. I forget the exact title, but it does say he's surpassing a god. So this does seem like the point in the series where they surpass the title of Gods of Destruction. So thank God. took fucking forever. I think it took like over a year since all this like Vegeta Blue versus Beerus shit came out. But other than that, guys, that's all I wanted to say. Just wanted to clear up those misconceptions. Subscribe to the boy Clyde the Weeaboo and Chuck the Cyberfuck.
Yeah, this was a good video. It's a good video, Seth. We just want to say quickly, next episode is going to be fucking wild.
Till next time.
Peace out, thoughts.